Anti-Zionism is not the same as anti-Semitism. Here are two very different terms that are regularly used interchangeably in current debates. So you might be surprised to learn that they mean entirely different things. Recently, Mark Lamont Hill, a US-based activist, academic and journalist, was sacked from CNN for calling for a free Palestine from the river to the sea at the United Nations. Later demands were also made for him to lose his job as a lecturer. The claim was that Lamont Hill's call was anti-Semitic.
While the Universal Declaration for Human Rights says that all people are, quote, born free and equal in dignity and rights, the Israeli nation-state continues to restrict freedom and undermine equality for Palestinian citizens of Israel, as well as those in the West Bank and Gaza.
Yet it couldn't be clearer from both his speech and his long-standing body of work that he referred to the creation of one unified, secular and democratic state between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean for all its inhabitants. The only way this can be constructed as anti-Semitic is if no difference is made between the State of Israel and Jewish people worldwide. A deeply problematic approach. Anti-Semitism refers to ideas and behaviors which discriminate against, target or harm Jews because they are Jews. Claims that Jews are stingy, that they rule the world or run the banks are anti-Semitic. Similarly, physical or verbal attacks against Jewish people because of their Jewishness are anti-Semitic. Anti-Zionism, on the other hand, is a political ideology, which, as its name suggests, opposes Zionism. Zionism is a political movement born in the late 19th century that argued that the only way for Jews to escape European anti-Semitism was to develop their own state. This state they built in Palestine, and despite minority internal opposition, they did so at the expense of the people who already lived in the country, the Palestinians. The creation of Israel, which was the outcome of the Zionist movement's efforts, took place in 1948 on the back of the expulsion of over 700,000 Palestinians and the destruction of at least 400 villages. These injustices continue to this day. The expanding settlements in the West Bank, the murderous blockade on Gaza, or the more than 60 laws that specifically target Palestinian citizens of Israel are all ongoing and carried out in the name of Zionism. What anti-Zionists demand then is that all the inhabitants of historic Palestine, Jews, Christians and Muslims, Palestinians and non-Palestinians, are given equal rights whatever their race, religion or ethnicity, something which both the Israeli state and the Zionist movement continue to refuse. Unfortunately, today anti-Zionism is often conflated with anti-Semitism. It should, however, be clear that they have nothing to do with one another. The first rejects the idea of an ethnic or religiously supremacist state in Palestine. The second hates Jewish people for being Jewish. But conflating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism makes a series of assumptions that should never be acceptable. Firstly, that all Jews are Zionists, or that Zionists speak for all Jews. This is a deeply racist idea that assumes that an entire group of people can be essentialized under one ideological banner. Nothing could be further from the truth. Israel does not represent the views of all Jews. Many Jews around the world are anti-Zionists for religious and or political reasons, while others might simply know very little about it and not have an opinion. Secondly, that all Zionists are Jews. Again, nothing could be further from the truth. For example, there are many Christian Zionists, especially in the United States, while many politicians and political parties across the West are Zionist. This has nothing to do with Judaism, but with foreign policy and the close alliance that their countries have with Israel. Finally, the conflation between the two ideas often assumes that Zionism only affects Jewish people. This approach, often repeated in current debates, erases the fact that the primary victims of the Zionist movement have been and continue to be the Palestinian people. Their rejection of Zionism, their demands for equal rights and their desire to be able to return to their homes from which they were expelled has nothing to do with Judaism or Jews in any way. Instead, it has everything to do with their opposition to the settler colonial project, which continues to dispossess and oppress them in their own lands. Anti-Zionism is therefore, before anything else, a form of solidarity with the demands of a colonized people that continues to struggle for its freedom. There is a simple yet powerful principle which states that no one is free until we are all free. In that sense, the struggle against anti-Semitism and the struggle against Zionism are one and the same. They are both struggles against oppression, against racism and ethnic supremacy. In a word, against injustice. In the words of the old slogan, anti-Semitism is a crime, anti-Zionism a duty.